Hello YouTube. So long time no speak, and this is a shortish video just showing some still photographs of our new lithium battery install. So the story goes, as you can see, we had two G80 lead acid gel batteries installed in Humberto. So our heating is done via a gas heater, but it's actually blown air using a 12-volt fan, and we've been finding that in winter that the batteries are dying. So last November we were on a remote site and air in France, and midway through the night the power went down because the Hymer shuts down the power when the batteries dip below 50%, and even running the engine for half an hour to get some more charge in there only helped us for about half an hour. So it was clear that we'd basically run the batteries to an inch of their lives, and in fairness we've had them 10 years. So it was time for a change. So the price in France is horrendous. So we found Camper and Marine in Lewes, and half an hour north of Brighton, and they gave a great price. I won't actually give you the price, but it was a great price. It basically paid for the trip from southwest France, where we live now. It paid for the ferry, it paid for campsites, meals out, and we still came back €1,000 cheaper than having the same install done in France. So take a screenshot if you like of Camper and Marine. I'll show it again at the end. I can't recommend them highly enough. They were fantastic. We had regular phone calls to make sure that all the parts were ordered and were delivered. And the deposit, we actually paid for all the parts. That was the deposit. We ordered the parts, we paid for them, we checked they were on site. And when they were on site, we headed to Dieppe and then to New Haven, and then half an hour north to Lewes and Camper and Marine. So the install we had done was a Fogstar Drift battery. We chose the 460 amp hour battery, which you can see here was 59999, so £600, which is considerably cheaper than in France. Now, it's not just a matter of getting a lithium battery and swapping it in. If you remember that we had two 80 amp hour batteries, so 160 amp hours when new, but you should only ever use 50%. So realistically, we only had 80 amp hours on board. Now, realistically, with a 460 amp hour battery, we've got a usable at least 400 amp hours. Now, you can't just plug these things in. You need to install a new DC charger, and that takes the alternator power when the engine's running, and so 12-volt alternator straight into the battery. And lithium batteries can take a big charge, so in this case 50 amps. So that means that even short trips, let's say an hour, you're putting 50 amp hours into the battery. So that almost negates the need for our solar panel, to be honest. But we do have a 150 watt solar panel, and so we had a Victron solar panel charger controller, and that just feeds solar power into the battery. On top of that, we had to buy a mains charger. So when you plug in to a campsite, which we will probably never do, but if we do, then that 240 volts goes into a Fogstar compatible AC charger and charges the Fogstar battery. I honestly can't see us ever connecting to mains again. The Fogstar battery is just it's just been exceptional. So now you can see that the 460 amp hour Fogstar Drift Eco battery is not that much bigger than a single 80 amp hour lead acid gel battery, and it frees up the space on the left for the Fogstar charger, the DC-DC alternator charger, and in the top of the space you can just about make out the blue Victron solar charger. So it actually doesn't take up any more room, in fact less room really. Really neat job done by Camper & Marine, really pleased. It took them one day, started at 9 AM and we collected it done at 4 PM. Okay, so additionally, the Fogstar batteries are Bluetooth compatible with a phone app. And here's the phone app, and you can see in the speedo display at the top 92092. That was after 2 nights off-grid in February, freezing cold night, wet nights, and we were down to 92% remaining charge after the heaters going full time really for 2 days. You can see on the right at the top it says current, so we're drawing 1.7 amps from somewhere, probably lighting or maybe the fans, and the other display, so you can see it's predicting that we can run like that for 251 hours, so over 10 days, and we're drawing 22.6 watts. So this is really useful, so you can basically lie in bed and check the state of the battery. But given that every time we drove somewhere, even to local shops for like 20 minutes, we'd come back and the battery was at 100% again. So I really can't see the solar panel adding much to the deal actually. I can't see us ever running out of 12 volts, so I don't see the need to plug in to 240 volts on site. Now the Victron solar controller also is Bluetooth enabled, so you can see here that we're drawing 12 watts because that's what Britain gives you in February in the rain. So obviously it will add something, it will charge the battery, but we're just not dependent on that. I think our off-grid life now will be using the 12 volts and then moving on every 2 or 3 days, and that short drive or long drive should give us back 100%. I run a 300 watt inverter purely to power my laptop charger if I'm using my laptop, or for watching videos and stuff and streaming to a PC, a laptop on board. The Fogstar battery will support a 3 kilowatt inverter, so you could run kettles, coffee machines, hair dryers, whatever, as long as they're under 3 kilowatts, which most devices tend to be now. So here's Camper & Marine, fantastic job, all done in a day for under half price of having it done here in France, so it paid for our holiday and we still saved money. So highly recommended. Lithium is definitely the way to go if you can afford it. The big cost is that initial payout for the controllers. For the difference in price between a 300 amp hour and a 460 amp hour, which is £200, it seemed to me that in for a penny, in for a pound. And this is our trip home to France via Honfleur in France, and we're happily totally off grid. We drive up. We've got 10 days of eating if need be. So hopefully YouTube, that's going to be a help to somebody. Any questions, leave some comments, thumbs up, all that sort of stuff. And see you soon.